Welcome to this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. The types of business that occur at these meetings include public hearings, official voting on actions by the Board of Commissioners, presentations by departments of the county, and recognition of service that makes our county great. As your elected representatives, the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners is committed to improving the lives of all our residents while preparing county government to meet the demands of the future. In order to do that, we need to share our thoughts and plans with you. More importantly, we need you to share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions with us. We encourage you to come and experience the process by attending any of these meetings. They occur every first and third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at the St. Clair County Administration Building at 200 Grand River Avenue in Port Huron.
Okay, we're going to call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell.
Here.
Commissioner Tamian. Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Dunn.
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Graytop.
Here.
Chairman Bohm.
Here. Item 3, additions, deletions, changes to the agenda.
I see we have a revised, and we need to make an addition, so I'd like to make the 3A into 11B and put the Marine City District Court renovations change order, and that would be for final action.
Support.
So we're going to do that for V, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Approval of the agenda.
I move the approval of the agenda as amended.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes of previous meeting, items A through B.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the file of the minutes of 4/18/2019 commission meeting and the 5/2/19 standing committee meetings.
Support.
Discussion on any of these. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No proclamations. Item 7, consent agenda, items A through F.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of items 7A through 7F on the consent agenda.
Support.
Discussion on any of these? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Items A, report of standing special committees. Greg, I'm going to start with you down there.
Well, tomorrow we have our emergency management breakfast, 7:30. Carrie's given an hour-and-a-half presentation. I'd like you to all be there and see what goes. Is that what it is?
I can cut it down.
Okay. We've been meeting with Justin. I don't know, Justin, are you going to be talking tonight?
I'm available to speak if needed.
Okay, so I'm not
Let's
going to.
see, we had the emergency management plan. We can kind of chit-chat a little bit about that, too, so.
So we'll just go with it there. That's
Yep.
all I have.
Okay, Howard?
Nothing at this time.
Bill?
Not a whole lot, just briefly, we're working very closely with emergency management, with local communities for the high water and the anticipation of more water to come yet. Won't get into too much detail on it right now. Some of it may come out when Justin gets up here and we talk a little bit about where we're going with some of this stuff. But just to be aware, and everybody knows that we are fully aware of what's going on, and our Emergency Services Department is in touch with anybody and everybody who is anybody with emergency operations and what we need to do and how to be prepared for high water and possible flooding. So that was it.
Okay, David?
Something really short, our St. Clair County Road Commission, I just want to give them kudos. Had a few calls from residents, and they've been addressing things, and with the wet conditions and all, pretty much, except for one exception, they've all been positive phone calls.
Duke?
I was contacted by Mayor Damon yesterday from the city of Marysville with concerns, like everybody else, about the high water. They're getting a lot of residents complaining. They have sent a letter to the Sheriff's Department and Paul Reed asking for if they are going to be writing tickets or how they're going to be handling it. He just wanted me to make it aware that they are concerned like everybody else. They know that nothing can be done about it, but they have the same concerns. That and the Blue Water Community Action has moved into their new facility at the old Baker College. They have taken residence there. So.
Mine will be a little bit more at the end, too. I got an opportunity to meet with Commissioner Gray Topham. We went on a little Southern End tour here the other day and took some pictures and stuff, and so I'll touch base with that at the end. Citizens wishing to address the board. Jamie Murray, P.O. Box 44, St. Clair, Michigan, 48079, meeting with the sheriff. Yeah.
Hi. Hey, I was hoping that Sheriff Donlin was going to be here tonight so I could ask him, because I'm not really sure who I asked, but I had called his office 3 times last week to make an appointment to sit down and speak with him. And I have yet to get a return phone call. So then the lady that was going to join me at the meeting with him emailed him, and he stated that, a few things he stated, but he said that I think he was under the impression that I wanted to talk about Larry in the Woods with him. I don't need his help to remove Larry in the Woods because Mr. Fletcher is going to do that. And it doesn't solve our problem because we don't know where Larry's going, but that's a whole nother battle. But my question is, because no one seems to have an answer, when the sheriff will not respond to you, then who do we go to?
We generally don't respond. Jamie, if you want to help, Jamie's my neighbor, full disclosure. If you want to just get a hold of me and we'll set up, whether it's him or whether it's undersheriff or something like that, I can help facilitate that for you.
Okay, him or Detective Rickert, either one will work.
Yeah. And I guess if it's regarding a particular issue too, just let me know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But so they, who was their boss though? I'm just asking for the sheriff. Like who would you go to if the sheriff?
You elected.
Well, no, I didn't, but I understand your point. And I don't have any, I've never met Sheriff Donlin, so let's be clear, I have no beef here. I just, as a citizen, I made a request for a meeting, and he said that absolutely he would not meet with me. And that was his response. So I've never met the man, but I would appreciate a meeting with one or the other. So I'll talk to you. Thanks, Jeff.
Very
Thanks.
good. John Angie, 3031 Alden Court, Port Huron, experience and meeting with Commissioner Bowe.
You folks may remember my wife was here a week ago to talk about a contract with the St. Clair County Court. I'm really not here to talk about the essence of that issue and the conflict that was discussed back then. I understand you folks don't do the hiring and firing. I totally get that. What I'm here to talk about was the fact that Commissioner Bohm and Commissioner Heidemann were kind enough to return my call and meet with me at my business on Lapeer Avenue. Right at the end of the business day, I had employees walking around. They went through the plant with me. I discussed some of my concerns. The interesting thing is, after my wife Carrie spoke here, we received a lot of calls and a lot of people who reached out to us indicating that they supported the position. They had concerns. A lot of them didn't want to come forward because a lot of them rely on their income in that building or outside of that building. And I didn't really want to go into that, but what they did give me was a lot of information, some of which I suspected, some of which I knew, and that was the purpose of the meeting. So when I started the meeting, I'd been informed that they had to get to a Chamber of Commerce dinner or cocktail party, so I was in a hurry. As I got into the conversation about some things going on there and some of the monies going on, Commissioner Bohm accused me of sour grapes. Okay. My wife was a 10-year prosecutor in Macomb County. I wasn't the one who didn't get the contract. I wasn't there to fight her battle. She's tried murder cases, rape cases. She can fight her own battles. That wasn't the purpose of the meeting. I asked him if he wanted me to continue, and he said yes, so we went a little further. But another 5 minutes into it, he accused me of sour grapes again. And I said, look, Jeff, I'm not that upset about it. Carrie is walking away from money to do this, and the way I think, I don't understand why she wants to do it in the first place, but that's really not the point. So this isn't sour grapes. Again, I asked him if he wanted to continue. So we kept going, and the third time he accused me of sour grapes. Why, I don't know. That was on autopilot. I looked at him, and I said, Jeff, I don't understand why you feel the need to insult me. At which point he jumped up. I know the door is open on this conference room. told me, John, you can shove it up your ass, and away he went. I really wasn't going to come here to say that because it's a little embarrassing. I would think he would be embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I hope Mr. Heidemann was embarrassed. I've worked with the public. I work with the public now. There's some teachers in here and former school folks who probably had a urge to do that to some parents from time to again. But you controlled yourself as a professional. I'm sure Mr. DeBoyer, having stood in that clerk's office in the past in St. Clair County, having some irate attorneys and members of the public would like to say that. But you don't, because you're an adult. He's in my business, which I pay taxes for to the tune of about 20 grand a year, and that's how I get treated. That's what's said to me. I'm no more special than anyone else, but I'm just looking for some common decency. I don't expect anything to happen here. You might go in the back room and tee-hee and laugh about it, but my partner, when I told him the story, who was there that night, was more upset than I was.
Mr. Angie, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
Okay, we've got item 10, unfinished business. Proposed court reorganization is tabled. I don't think we're going to make a motion to take it off the table.
Oh, I can make a motion to take that off the table. I'm the one that tabled it.
To discuss it or just to remove it from?
Remove it.
Okay.
Support?
So we can just discuss removing it from the agenda, correct?
Well,
Is that how the format works?
Table. It's now open to potential discussion, deliberation, or not.
So if we don't deliberate,
Okay, can I, well, let me, the motion, can I make the motion that until we receive further information, that was part of it, we needed additional information before we were going to address this. Can I make a motion until we receive further information? This is to be removed from the agenda.
So ultimately, what you're doing is you're bringing it up. You're not, theoretically, you're not going to take action, although you may, right? You're not going to take action, which means that it will then, therefore, fall off the agenda because there was no action taken. Any further action that needs to be taken on that matter would have to be resubmitted to you guys, and you would have to replace it on an agenda, and you would have to deliberate it.
Correct, that's exactly what I would like to do.
And I would support it.
So you made the motion to remove it, and Commissioner Greatop, did you support?
Support.
Support.
Now we'd have any discussion, correct?
If it's desired.
Yep.
so the all in favor is to remove it.
To remove it from being
Okay.
tabled and bring it back into potential for action.
And then it dies for lack of no action.
Correct, if that's,
I would make that motion.
okay.
It's been made
He's
already.
made
Oh,
it.
I'm
He's
sorry.
All you have to do is
I'm
call-
sorry, all in
call-
favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
So the action's laying there, it's up to you as commissioners to what you want to do with it. And that's up to you as the chair to decide that we're no longer going to wait for anybody to do anything.
So do we need a motion to make that official? No, okay, good, gone. All right. 11A, approval of county disbursements for April 2019.
This time, I'd like to move to approve the county disbursements for April 2019 in the amount of $20,592,980.88.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm,
Yes. Item B, the Cengage Learning subscription renewal for the library.
I would move to approve the Cengage Learning's Gale Courses subscription for a term of 6/29/19 through 6/28/20 in the amount of $10,704.65 for the library.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm,
Yes. Item D, the 2020 Community Corrections Grant application.
I think we have C next.
C.
Oh, I'm sorry, C.
This
The
time, I'd like to
contract.
move to approve the agreement with the Image Authentics for a term of 5/24/19 through 11/24/19 in the amount of $12,375 for bus wrap advertising for hepatitis A.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item D, the Community Corrections Grant application.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I move to approve fiscal year 2020 Community Corrections Plan and application in the amount of $269,630.
Support.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. Item E, 2019 Revised Community Corrections Grants.
I would move to approve the fiscal year 2019 Community Correction Plan and application in the amount of $180,101.
Second.
Discussion? Billy?
I noticed in looking at both of them that are in there, they're both due dated May 1st, 2018. Is that still going to work for us, the fact that we're past that date?
I believe they have already been submitted to the state, and our policy does allow for you to approve them after the fact.
Okay, thank you.
We did talk about that at the actual meeting, because I forget the date we had our meeting, but they needed to get them, it was right at the end of April, and they were gonna send the forms in, and they said they would accept them, and then once we do our final, then they send them a copy of that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. Item F, 2022 Michigan Mental Health Court Grant.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the fiscal year 2020 Michigan Mental Health Court Grant Program Certification Application and budget in the amount of $394,044.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item G, the Maritime Radar Network Upgrade.
Mr. Chair, I would move the approval of an agreement with Acceptipitor Radar Corporation, hope I said that right, for the upgrade of a maritime radar network for emergency management for the term of 5/17/2019 through 8/31/2020 in the amount of $572,400.
Support.
Anything else? Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item H, the Sheriff's Office 2019 Bulletproof Vest.
This time I'd like to move to approve the fiscal year 2019 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program application for the Sheriff Department in the amount of $6,562.50.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Item I, the Blue Water Riverwalk Park Equipment Purchase.
I would move to approve the purchase for park equipment from R.J. Thomas Pilot Rock in the amount of $20,877.85 for the Blue Water Riverwalk Park.
Support.
Discussion. I actually got a chance to go down there and look at that today, and Commissioner Heidemann was going out for his daily stroll.
Yeah.
So we went and walked and looked at everything that they're doing. Probably half of it's done now, Howard, down there, and probably
The
another
wetlands part.
piece of it, yeah, the other
Nothing has, well, other than moving equipment in and that sort of thing, nothing has really happened on the second phase of the park, which will start, I'm assuming ASAP. And first of all, they have to do the, I guess you'd say the landscaping, get that all set up, and then start the placement of the pavilion. So by the end of the summer, you should see a pavilion up down there.
Okay.
And then other features to come in the following
Yeah, it's
year.
neat. It's impressive.
Is it smooth when they brought the equipment in? Did they grade it?
It's pretty smooth already.
There was a grader down there yesterday
Yeah.
grading.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop,
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item J, the Goodles Community Center flooring replacement.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I move to award the flooring replacement for the Goodles County Park Community Center to Beer Nose Carpet One in the amount of $12,186.25.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item K, the landfill leachate treatment agreement.
That would be me. Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the agreement with the St. Clair County Department of Public Works for landfill leachate treatment operations for the term of 5/17 of 19 through 12/31 of 19 in the amount of $495,511.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item L, the budget adjustments.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the 2019 budget adjustments as presented.
Support.
We had a meeting earlier today, and I've actually, you're going to hear from Justin later on, and I would really recommend perhaps at this time, with some of the contingencies and things, and entering into any potential expensive contracts right at this time, we probably really need to just look to put them on the back burner for a minute and see what happens. We are going to have some I'm not going to say serious, but we are definitely going to have some issues in the southern part of the county. After my tour I went on the other day, and we may need some additional resources to assist with some of that. This is going to be, and there again, I don't want to steal your thunder, Justin, but this is going to be record high levels, and we're not sure some of the potential issues that the county may have to deal with. And we just really need to be, cognizant of that. So just Bill, Craig, you were in a previous meeting. Any thoughts on that?
No, we know that we're probably going to have to expend some monies down there. Protecting your own property is up to each individual homeowner to do. Jay knows that. He lives on the water and he watches it come over a seawall every day. So that's up to you to take care of your own property. However, the infrastructure, the roads, pumping stations, anything that involves the welfare of the entire community will fall under the jurisdiction of the local people. Clay Township will respond. If they get stuck or they need additional help, we may have to step in. The road commission may have to step in. We may have to have additional police patrols. There's a variety of things that can happen in situations like this, and we are getting out in front of this. We are getting way out in front of this at the urging of our director, and really glad that we are doing this right now. So it's important that we do have some money sitting beside or on the sidelines that we can use if we need to. So I guess what Jeff is saying, and I think we kind of all agreed in the meeting today, is that we really want to try to hold on to that contingency money that's sitting there. I think there's $159,000 sitting in there right now, and we would like to save that for future endeavors down along the water lines if it's needed. Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with total unknowns. So I think it's imperative that we watch for the next couple months and just see where we're at and what's going on. We got to make sure that we have some money left aside for an emergency, and this is definitely considered emergency.
Howard?
Just a comment. Jeff, you may recall more about it than I do, but I was thinking back to our former administrator, Sean Groden, when he moved to Greene County, New York. And after Hurricane Sandy, to match the federal aid, their county had to basically bond for that.
Yeah, you still have to come up with 25%. Sean's County had to bond $10 million to make the 25% match. Now granted, that was a hurricane and wiped out but that can be the magnitude. Just when you have these disasters, it's, the federal government's not stroking you a check for 100% of it. So that, because I talked to Sean the other day about it, but $10 million bond, 30-year bond, that just gets, dropped on you, and you gotta absorb that every year out there for
Well,
them. It's been,
That's
yeah.
that's the point I'm trying to make, if this thing gets far more disastrous than we're anticipating, and not only state disaster, but federal disaster area, what will be the expectations? And I think we just need to be aware that this thing could get rather expensive.
What's the format for the federal government to get monies from them? Is there any certification or qualifications that somebody from the county is required to have?
Comes your answer, right?
Got the man with the answers.
Could you repeat the question? I didn't hear it.
To get any federal monies into the county, if we were to request from the federal government to assist us in a disaster of some sort.
Sure.
Is there any certification or qualifications that some official from St. Clair County would be required to have to be able to get those monies?
Yes, sir. So here's how that works. So at the appropriate point, I would declare an emergency, right? So, and at that point, we have 7 days to register our damages and losses. And then we would continue the damage assessment process and return that number to the state, or those numbers and answers to the state. The state then has 30 days to either take up our declaration and declare on their own, and go from there. And then they can turn around and declare a disaster. And then the president would decide whether they want to enact the Stafford Act and declare a presidential. And if the president would declare, then FEMA would come in, provide resources, and we would be off and running. We are a pretty long ways from that at this point. And so that's kind of where we sit right now.
My question is because from my understanding is some elected official on this board has to be certified at the federal level to even ask for those monies, even though it goes through the governor.
That is not the case.
All right.
No. So the way it works is I would declare from my office, and then basically it goes directly between Jeff and I on how we work the process. And then I would run my declaration directly to the state police, EMHSD division, and we work hand in hand to provide as much information to the governor's staff as possible through the state police, EMHSD division.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll have you back up here
Yes,
later.
sir.
But a motion on the budget adjustments. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Item M, the appraisal service agreement for Lapeer County.
This time I'd move to approve the appraisal services agreement for the Lapeer County Equalization Study with Assessment Administration Services, LLC, for a term of 6/1/19 through 5/31/20 in the amount of $73,360.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes. Item N, the Health Department manning table revisions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to move the approval of the addition of a full-time social worker and nurse coordinator, and to revise a social worker's position and account clerk 2 position from part-time to full-time in the Health Department manning table.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item O, the Homeland Security Emergency Management manning table.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I move to add a deputy director position to the emergency manning table with the wage structure placement of job group 3, wage range FF.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. Item P, the Parks and Rec Commission reclassification request.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to reclassify the Clerk 1 position in the Parks and Recreation Department to a Clerk 2 position.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. The Commissioners' travel meeting schedule.
I would move to set the travel meeting schedule as follows. June in Marysville,
June 20th in Marysville,
June 20th, July in St. Clair,
25th,
August, Algonac,
15th,
and September in Riley.
19th. Check with your respected, if you guys want to do City Hall things, if you want to do it at some non-traditional spots. things you wanna show
Non-traditional
in
is
your
good.
co- Yeah, so whatever, as you well know, I've had in mine in St. Clair, we had it at St. Clair last year when it was under construction, we've had it at the Boat Harbor, so there's some place that you'd like to do it other than it doesn't have to be in a township hall setting, so.
Need a support.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Library Michigan Improving Access Grant Program.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I move to approve the Library of Michigan Improving Access to Information Grant Program application in the amount of $22,106.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item S, the Waste Removal Agreement with Waste Management.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the professional service agreement with Waste Management for a term of June 1st, 2019 through May 30th, 2020 in the amount of $22,298.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item T, the 2019 Stone Garden Grant application.
This time I move to approve the 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program Operation Stone Garden Grant application, the amount of $514,328.10.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item U, the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan update.
I would move to approve the 2019 Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan update.
Support.
Anything you want to touch on there or highlight, Justin, at all, or welcome to the job, and we have probably the biggest disaster we potentially have coming down the pipeline.
Yeah,
so
I asked my staff, I said,
first
if this
30
is some sort
days.
of test to make sure I'm qualified for the job, thank you, I'm good now, we can move on. So yeah, this plan, you signed it last year in 2018, but the state came back with some questions, and we answered those questions. So this is just an update to answer those questions. But I'm going to take this time. I've spoken to most everybody I've had a chance to update. I did not get a chance to talk to you, Dave, and you, Duke, and then everybody else has had the update. So basically where we are right now, we, as of right now, have set a record. We are over and above the 1986 record for high water in the St. Clair County area. The reason why we don't have water over all the roads like we did in 1986 was because of the mitigation strategies that we've done, all the really great building code upgrades, all the good things we've done since 1986 has raised the water level from the flooding level from plus 54 to plus 62. That's what we think the right answer is going to be, where we'll end up actually flooding.
And what does that mean? Give us
Yeah.
layman's terms.
Yes,
Each
sir.
slide.
So what that means is the water level at Algonac this morning was 577.4 or 577.5. That's 577 feet above sea level, okay? And that equals, if you look on your chart, like if you're on a boat, right, and the charted depth right now, if you're looking at datum, which is what you're looking at when you see the little numbers, that would be I think that number is 573, okay? I believe that's the number I showed on the chart, on the little numbers is 573. So right now we're at 578, okay? 577 and 3/4. So when we get to 580, between 580 and 582, we are going to flood everywhere that number says 580. So FEMA tells us that the floodplain is 580. When we get to that level, and we expect to get to that level by June, we are going to have significant flooding issues in the areas where the water level gets to that level. The Army Corps is telling us that will happen here in the next 2 weeks.
So when you say 580, are we talking 508, so we're at 577?
We're at 577 and a half right now.
580, you're talking 3
3
foot?
inches, no, 3 inches.
3 inches.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, here's the fun fact. When the winds pick up, right, when we get 15 knot winds, 20 mile an hour winds, you can expect to get 2 to 6 more inches of water pushed because of that wind, depending on what direction it's coming from. When you're on Harson's Island, because it's almost a 360-degree island surrounded by water, it doesn't matter which way that wind's coming, that water is going to pick up in inches. So, which is why the islands, Dickinson Island, Russell Island, and Harson's Island, are covered by water right now. There's a significant water impact, flooding impact on those islands as we speak. We have additional impacts in Clay Township, Ira Township, and Algonac right now because they're surrounded they're in a delta. They're surrounded on 3 sides by water currently. So that's where you're seeing our biggest issues right now. We don't have the same issues in East China, Marine City, and farther up the river because they only get impacted more or less when we have certain east winds. They get water pushed up in there. East China hangs on to some water sometimes, but that's our issues right now. So that's kind of where we're at. That's the current update. Questions?
I'll just make some comments because I went down to Commissioner Greatop. We went down to Algonac, to the harbor. Was there an inch or two maybe? You know, I mean, it is
Right.
It is right there. We ended up down at Anchor Bay Drive at the DNR launch. You actually had to drive through water if you were to get to the DNR launch. All the flats down there, I went at 2 inches, Bill, and maybe it's to the road, you know, that stuff. So that's, you know, like I said, we spent a couple hours driving around looking at different points, canals, this. So, you know, when we equate it from where we're at today to how many more inches, you know, it's going to go, I know you can't crystal ball, but the peak, now correct me if I'm wrong, is in July and August. So the water will continue to rise. The peak we're going to see is when?
You're correct, July and August. So we won't reach the peak until August, and we'll stay there. We'll hover there, and we won't fall off a record until we get to September and October.
And how much more do you expect that to come up?
You can expect another anywhere from 6 to 12 inches additionally. Yes, sir.
Justin, just something for what it's worth. The difference that, you know, we see the Mississippi River flooding, right?
Right.
The difference between what that is and what we're going to experience is that ours is sustained over a long period of time.
Correct.
You know, the Mississippi River, they'll have flooding, it'll last 3 days, 4 days, and then it subsides. Ours is going to be sustained over months. And Duke, your question about, you know, 6 to 12, that's recognized static water. That doesn't mean when we get a 30 to 40 mile an hour wind from the southwest, you're talking about adding another 18 inches.
Jay lives on Anchor Bay.
And here's the other thing we're going to struggle with, ladies and gentlemen, is once it gets to that level in certain areas, it's going to become part of the river, right? So in Algonac and in Clay and in Ira, it's going to pick up the 6-knot current that it has in Algonac, and it's going to become part of the St. Clair River. So it's going to pick up all that hydraulic power, and it's going to cause additional damage, right? So we've got to be prepared to understand that there's going to be debris in places that we don't normally think there's going to be debris. It's going to pick up small buildings that aren't connected to foundations like garages and outbuildings and things like that. Anything that's not securely tied down is going to start floating. Things like propane tanks and oil tanks that we didn't know were there or haven't been dealt with in 20 years. All of these things are going to become potential hazards that we're going to deal with. So there's a lot to think about and a lot that my office and our partners are dealing with and thinking about and planning for as we speak. Yes, sir.
It's kind of humorous, but isn't, but one of the hurricanes that happened down south, any graveyards potentially going to get hit that you were aware of? I mean,
Yeah, so it's something that we're seriously taking a look at. So, you know, and there's potential for things that we can't even think about right now, just that we're going to end up dealing with and recovering from. So this is a threefold process. We're going to prepare for, we're going to respond to, and we're going to recover from. And so I think it was appropriate board action, if I'm allowed to say so, that we are looking forward a little bit to being financially responsible and preparing ahead of time for taking care of the people that we're responsible to.
I would encourage everybody out there that can hear us right now to be on the alert, to sign up for the WINS, W-I-N-S system that goes through St. Clair County Emergencies Operations Center out there. You will be then warned or made aware of any situations that are changing. Coming out of administration's office from you directly, there are press releases. We've already had 3 of them. And in some of those press releases, there's some really, really good information. If you have to evacuate from your home or you go to a higher level, I mean, basic things like getting things out of the crawl space, getting them out of the basement, raising things up, getting them away from the water situation. And if you have to leave, the things that you don't think about, turn off your power, turn off your computers and your refrigerators and things like that. Make sure that you have your medication. Make sure that you have a place to take your animals and their medication. Things that you don't normally think about. Sit down and start planning that stuff right now. And that's what Justin's trying to tell you right now, is get ahead of this stuff and make those plans right now so that you have them. So if the time comes and you do have to act, you are ready to grab a suitcase and walk out your door and be safe and secure somewhere.
Howard?
I just want to go back to something that Justin mentioned earlier, and that is that once the flooding occurs, it becomes part of the St. Clair River, and you've got a 6-mile-an-hour current going. And if it's a road that's flooded, and even though the water may not appear that deep, you know, a foot or so, that may be enough to float a car.
It very much will be, yes, sir.
And
6
so,
to 12 inches, you can float a car away.
Definitely.
So I guess, you know, the word there would be, just don't drive if the road is flooded, and don't drive into it.
And that will be our messaging when we get close to
Okay.
those sorts of things.
Duke?
Justin, did you say we are over the record right now from
We are,
1986?
yes.
So we are at a new
For
record?
For May of 1986, we are over that.
How about for an all-time record?
So it doesn't really work like that. So it follows an arc for 1986. So I can show you the data. If we need to, I can show you once we leave here. I'll pull it up on a computer
Okay.
for you.
But we are over the record of 1986.
For May of 86, we are over that record.
Yeah, and I got to give Justin a lot of,
We are very close to an all-time right now, too.
and Justin's been doing the, you know, going to the meetings, press releases. I know he's been working with you guys, Jackie, stuff, just to, you know, make aware. It's a steady, you know, it's a steady rise, and it's not a question of if, it's a question of perhaps how much. And
That's
I think
correct.
back to 86, right? I remember it. I worked at the St. Clair Marina back in 86, and I remember driving on all those canals in Marine Cities. All the houses were underwater built. Harson's Island was
Drive the columns.
a mess to,
Airplanes.
it was just, it was bad news.
Remember that you guys have sorry, Justin.
No, go
You
ahead.
guys are a partner to a wastewater treatment facility down there.
Yes.
And once that water gets to the roads where the manholes are at, you have full infiltration then into your wastewater treatment
We
facility.
actually met with Kurt West and the road commission and stuff. They were talking about, you know, measures that they were doing to ensure that, so.
1986, they ballooned all the manholes. They put air bladders in them and plugged them. And then they could pump the road out.
Right.
And it wouldn't be draining into the manholes.
So, okay. Any other questions for Justin?
Well, I just, you know, you talk about how this happens, and they just know what this is because of Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. And they flow into Lake Huron, which flows into the river. So this may have been a rain event and may have been a snow event in another area, but our inch of rain here doesn't affect us as much as Lake Superior is.
Correct.
And that's the known numbers. So when the the Corps is up there taking these measurements. They know that when that lake lowers its levels, it's only happening one way, and it's because ours is raising. So this isn't, let's just pretend like, or hope that it doesn't happen. This is happening. It's going to happen. Could they be an inch or two off? Certainly. But when we're already at a flood level and we're going from 6 to 12 inches, what if it's only 8 inches, right? That's still pretty devastating when you have 8 inches of water.
Justin, can you touch on the international treaty with Canada up there at the lock area, Lake Superior?
So, yeah, so what the Corps told us is, hey, we might be able to manage this 1 or 2 inches, but we can't manage 12 plus inches. So we're out, right? They're out of options as far as water management. This is happening. And the fact that it's May and it's this high, we already know that there's an arc every year. You can see it. That's a historical thing. They've already exhausted their capability to do management on the water. So they get that question 100 times a day, and that there is no option for continued management.
They're bound by that treaty.
They are, and they've already taken all their inches away. That's a done deal. So this is
Just in
Yes, sir.
response to that, did I hear correctly where Lake Superior is already at a high?
It is, yes, sir.
And they were just mentioning they had very little evaporation this winter because
Correct.
of the cold.
The
winter.
last 2 winters.
And
yes.
then they had an abundance of snowfall in that area. So
Yes.
the two factors are adding to a whole lot of water in Lake Superior. And as you said, it has to go someplace.
That's right.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but in 2013, we were at record lows.
Right.
Right? I mean, so that's not talking that long ago.
Yeah, 2007, we were below datum by almost 1.5 feet, right? So, which means we were below charted depth by 1.5 feet. So now we've gone the other way almost 7 feet.
Wow.
That's a lot of water.
And Easter Sunday of 1986, the water flooded over the Dike Road, and they came down with a county road grader to clear the debris away.
Right.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
Thanks, Justin.
update.
Thanks, Justin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item V, the Marine City District Court renovations.
I moved it down there, so I don't believe we have one. So I'm going to make a motion, and this is going to be for final action for the change order number 3A, and it's going to be in the amount of $4,396.99.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Administrators report.
So this past week, we have had multiple upgrades and projects going on at our dispatch center. We had a upgrade of the phone software, our phone switches, the simulcast upgrade on the towers, and we were scheduled to begin our PFN conversion today. There were some issues with the phone software upgrade. We knew our dispatch center was going to be down for several hours, so we did have staff at our backup center in Lapeer. That outage did last close to 8 hours with a few lingering issues that, as of 4:30 today, appear to have been resolved. But due to that and some other issues, our PFN upgrade that was supposed to begin today looks like it is going to not start until potentially next week on the 23rd.
Let them catch up.
Yeah, I know. Poor Tina and the dispatch staff, they have been amazing with all of the extra work and issues that they've had on them. They have done a great job and should certainly be commended for what they've done this week. Coming to you next month, we have several items. Our HR staff is working on a complete rewrite of our employee handbook, and we'll be taking that several hundred-page document and converting it into a series of policies, so it's a lot more manageable. So next month, we will start bringing some of those to you. Some of them are changes, updates, to comply with some of the new laws, such as the paid time off law. So that will be coming to you next month. Also next month, our courts have been working on putting together an application for another specialty court, a drug court. As you know, we have a mental health court, and they are exploring the option of doing a drug court. That application is due to the state by the end of the month. However, they did not have it done in time for your approval tonight, so that will come before you in June. It'll operate similar to mental health court grant. It's all grant funded, and there would be no match. Just a reminder, we have our legislative lunch next Monday. I believe the agendas went out late today, so if you can make sure you RSVP to our office so we have an accurate count of who will be there. That's it. Questions?
Motion for the administrator's report.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Miscellaneous business. I passed something out to the commissioners earlier. Howard, you may even want to touch a little bit on this. I know you've been involved in a long time. I've been to the last couple of years. There's a scout luncheon that's coming up. A Boy Scout luncheon next Tuesday, May 21st at the City Flats Hotel. So take a look. I know a lot of you guys, work that time, so on and so forth. Howard, I know you've been there last.
Yeah, well, I served 3 years as a scout executive for the Blue Water Consul, so it's a fantastic program. I know as a teacher, we often talked about teaching leadership in school, and if you want to teach leadership, the Scouts are the way to do it, especially if you run the program the way they tell you to run it. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that don't go through the training and do it the way the Scouts tell them to do it. They emphasize two deep leadership, which means that for any activity, there is supposed to be at all times one adult Scout leader trained and a parent or another trained Scout leader. That's what they mean by two deep leadership. So some of the issues that have come up, I just can't imagine that ever happening in a Blue Water Consul, because we were really adamant about following the rules and regulations as set up by BSA.
If you get a chance, it's at City Flats. We got an opportunity to go in there the other night, and pretty amazing with what they've done with that ballroom and stuff in there. It's very, very impressive. So kudos to Chuck Reed and Scotty Beeden for their persistency. Any other miscellaneous business at all?
See you at the Boy Scout.
Receive
event.
and file.
I'd move to receive and file packets that were sent to commissioners, packets at their places, and any other information presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Adjournment.
Motion. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.